I will make sure it gets provided to committee members.
But there's more than the checks and
Representative
balances.
Quam,
Then
I have
haul
the
me
floor.
out of the committee if you're not going to allow us to actually debate the darn bill.
Representative Altendorf, you have a question.
Mr. Chair, you need to let us.
Representative Quam, stop it.
No, I will not allow you to ignore valid questions. I didn't even get the answer to my first question. You said, oh, no follow-ups. You need to actually cover the bill.
There is something going on in our schools, according to this, something called furry. I have yet to meet a person in Minnesota that is hungry. This is a bill that is a solution in search of a need.
We have born alive individuals, and we must protect the born alive. In this case, a partial birth abortion. The child is in part born alive.
This is a perfect example of why politicians should not be making medical decisions, is because we are literally making stuff up and writing laws about it at this exact moment. A child does not come out part way alive and then doctors kill it. That's not a thing. That's not a thing today. It's not a thing tomorrow. It's not a thing 10 years ago. It's not a thing. So for us to legislate things that don't exist in real life, again, perfect example of why politicians should not practice health care.
I'm not confident that we don't have people in our midst that are terrorists that may want that driver's license.
Millions are pouring across. There's no way of vetting them. And terrorists can come across.
I don't want anyone in our country or our state to be attacked by anyone who is foreign, anyone who is citizen here. No one. I also don't want that to happen. But January 6th happened. That was a terrorism attack. That was a lot of US citizens who had, I'm sure, a lot of regular Class C driver's license.
Senator Mohammed, what would prevent a terrorist from coming through our open borders in the South, assuming this bill becomes law, coming to Minnesota, getting a driver's license, and hopping onto an airline and committing the types of acts that have been talked about here?
People who are US citizens also commit crimes. It's not just immigrants. There are bad people everywhere. And when someone does something wrong, we should hold them to the full extent of the law. And I'm with you on that. I too want to protect our national security. I too am a US citizen. I also care about these things. But I also care about the people who are fighting to follow the law so they can drive. They are asking us to not drive illegally. These folks have been telling us for 20 years, let me get a driver's license, please, so I don't have to drive without getting a driver's education. They want to do the right thing. This bill is bipartisan across the state of Minnesota. Labor groups support it. The chamber supports it. Faith groups across the state support it. They support this bill because they know it'll improve our public safety, that it'll grow our economy, and it's good for human dignity. It's bipartisan across the state of Minnesota, except here in the legislature. And it's time we stop playing politics with people's lives. It's time we do the right thing. It's bipartisan across the state of Minnesota, except here. And there's something wrong with that.
In this case, I am concerned with that statement, as we are now saying that this child who has been partially born now has no rights. And I am concerned that we are expecting a doctor who took a Hippocratic oath to do no harm first to now perform an abortion, or in this case, a murder on a small child.
I want to set the record straight about this. There is no such thing as an abortion up until birth. This amendment that we are hearing, this A2 amendment, has nothing to do with how abortion care or medicine works. As a pregnancy progresses, there are circumstances when women may need abortion care. Each situation is unique. And again, politicians and our government have no business sticking their noses into Minnesotans' personal, individual medical decisions.
The rate of women dying during pregnancy in the USA is highest than it's ever been since the 2000s. It has more than doubled in the last 2 decades. And this is, while it's decreasing in other countries, right? So this is a key indicator of women's health. And as a society, we constantly generally don't really care about women's health, right? Because if we did, we wouldn't be dying at the rates that we are dying right now. And so we know, and we've heard today, that abortion care, when it is restricted, that it increases maternal mortality and morbidity, as well as child mortality and morbidity. And so the other thing we do is we paint a picture of women walking around 8 months pregnant and then saying, you know what, I don't want to be pregnant anymore, let's kill this baby. And that's just not real. We don't trust women in this society to make capable and appropriate medical decisions for themselves and for their families, and we need to change the way we think about that. We need to change the way we treat women in this society.
Chair Wicklund?
No.
Vice Chairman?
No.
Lead Utke?
Yes.
Senator Abler? Yes. Senator Bolden?
No.
Senator Hoffman?
No.
Senator Kupek?
No.
Senator Leisky?
Yes.
Senator Morrison?
No. There being 3 yes votes and 6 no votes, the motion does not prevail. The amendment is not adopted.
Senator Mohammed, so can illegal aliens get a driver's license under this bill?
Senator Mohammed, and just everybody gets to choose their words, but undocumented people might be
They're
better.
my words, Madam Chair, and illegal is breaking the law. Aliens is part of our federal law. It's described to me that we have kids in our schools that believe that they are animals. And they are identifying, I'm told, as animals. Identifying as animals. They think they're a cat. A cat. They put tails on and they demand that they have a litter box in the school. Has anybody else heard that? The dictionary, Merriam-Webster, says furry is a person who identifies with and enjoys dressing as an animal, especially as a member of a subculture devoted to the practice. That's what Merriam-Webster says.
This bill provides universal lunch and breakfast to all Minnesota school students free of charge by creating a school meals program within MDE.
This is pure socialism. This is about control. It's about the government dictating to kids what they're going to eat and how much they're going to eat. The party in control here, Mr. President, the Socialist Party of Minnesota, is telling the people of Minnesota how they have to feed their kids. I have yet to meet a person in Minnesota that says they don't have access to enough food to eat. Now, I should say that hunger is a relative term, Mr. President. You know, I had a cereal bar for breakfast. I guess I'm hungry now. That, to some, might be maybe that's the definition of the bill. I don't know. I didn't see a definition of hunger in the bill, Mr. President.
I don't think that that is a term that is in this bill, and or no human being should be referred to as that, and so I will make that clear. Especially because I'm an immigrant, and so if I didn't have its status, I don't think I would want to be called an illegal or
My wife's
alien.
an immigrant too.
I'll say this. I took on this bill for many reasons, and one of the reasons is because I was so tired of the way people were demeaning me as an immigrant and demeaning people who I knew just because they didn't have a status, as if they were less of a human being. And I think you can refer to them as whatever you want. But we do this work because we're humans and we respect people. And I want you to know some of the people who you're speaking of that way live and work in this community, and they work in this building,